Hello everybody and welcome to week, I already forgot again, I think it's 39, right? Week 39's week in review of teaching myself how to draw here on this channel. As usual, let's start by looking at my figures. I think it was last week where I started using color instead of black, and throughout the week I used some different colors. I think I like the brighter ones more, where kind of like the thick, like the darkest lines don't really get like too in the way. Stuff like this, you know, like this is as dark as I can make it. Because I feel like when it's black, it kind of makes me feel like the lines are too set in stone when the color is too dark. So I like using these brighter colors, especially this red. I think this red is the one I'm gonna use for a while. It's the one I've been using for the last few days, but yeah. I think these are going good. I've been trying to keep my torsos smaller and my head's a little bigger. It's not really working out all the time, but just proportionally, that's kind of what I'm paying attention to this week, or what I've been paying attention to this week, is mainly the proportion of the head versus the torso. Because it's kind of what I practiced a little last week. I think I did 2 days of it, 2 or 3 days. I don't remember. But something like this, you know, if the head is this big, I only want basically the rib cage. I don't want to do the torso bigger than that, and then I can just connect to the pelvis. I'm still having trouble kind of bridging that gap in some angles, but again, like all I really need is this rib cage. You know, it's been kind of helping me with that. Keeping that kind of lighter up top. It's been helping my proportions, I think. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about here. Like I feel like this was a little big, right? Makes the head look too small if I have the torso too big. Which is the reason. See, it's like it's a little too big like this, a little too wide. It might just be the angle of this one, but in comparison to the head, I'm just trying to make sure that this and this make sense together. That's really all I was paying attention to this week. This is, I think, yesterday's. So you can see I'm using this red. I really like how, like I say, when like the darkest this line can get is like this color. How it's bright. It doesn't get dark. It just gets really bright. It's hard to explain, but I like the way it looks for like an outline. Or like illustrating the separation between parts, like these arms. Having it be bright instead of this like pitch black is, I don't know, it just looks nicer. It's easier to draw than here's today's. Some of these are really hard. Like this was the pose of the day. These legs coming toward the camera. This foreshortening I'm still really struggling with. I'll have to practice that in particular sooner or later. So yeah, that was my poses for this week. Not a whole lot to say. These basic side ones still really mess me up, where there's not really a whole lot going on, just from the side view. So anyway, let's look at what I drew this week. So I did some Evangelion fan art. This was day one, just laying everything out. I guess I can keep going, eh? Before I talk about what I struggled with. I did a few adjustments here and there on each day. But I realized pretty quickly that, I think it was maybe on the next day. Yeah, as soon as I tried to like clean this up, I really struggled with the mech face here of Unit 2. Trying to make this stuff interesting. You see how it's all just flat, and you can't really tell what's in front of what? Or like, it just feels like different planes of like flat metal. It's kind of boring. That's not really what Unit 2 looks like. So that was the thing, and it kind of similar with hair. How everything is just like a fang, a hair fang. I realized this week, not today, that I really focus on lines more than like volume. I don't really think about, and even stuff like this in the back here. It's hard for me to think about things in terms of this is the final version, by the way, in terms of like the 3D space that they take up, like if these cylinder things coming out of Unitu's chin, it's hard for me to think about sort of 3D shapes in like all situations like this, like adding different faces, add a bit more three-dimensionality to this stuff. I don't know how to do that. So that was what I really struggled with this week. I think of it as like the lines being like paper thin. I don't know how to explain it, but I tried to practice some stuff related to what my issue was this week by doing stuff like this. This is just like general perspective practice, but with this one, I'm trying to think about, like with this staircase, the full like weight, this like rectangular prism that makes up this wall here, rather than just having one line, you know? Like this is just one line here, where like this wall, I want to add another face on top, this face here. This face and then this face, right? Same with like down here, adding different faces. It's hard to see as it gets smaller, right? But there's like this wall, and then there's this top face. You can't really even see my colors, hey? This face here. Adding more faces to things. It's rather messy, hey? But thinking of the reason I did this practice for this week was because I feel like I'm relying too much on just drawing like the contour of stuff. So I wanted to take more of an objective look. I grabbed some reference and would just kind of get the angle of the scene, and then I was trying to like build buildings by envisioning like a cube here. And I was trying to think in volume instead of line, right? So I drew this cube, and then I tried to put a car inside that cube, right? Or this traffic cone thing. This guy here. So that was kind of this week's practice. Just random doodling based off of some reference. Trying to think about volume. And I did another one here. Again, trying to put like a character into a cube, right? It's hard to do. These were just random scenes that I started with like a reference of this like bookcase, and again trying to think of like adding another face to these lines to make them feel a little more three-dimensional, like with these pillars and things like that. I don't really do that, so that's what I was kind of practicing this week, trying to fit characters into scenes as well. Also kind of just general practice, you know. This bench was really hard because it's kind of a low angle, so the way it's kind of heading into the distance, trying to think about the volume that it takes up. That's really what I was working on this week. And then this one here. So we're all done just from random reference of pictures that I took when I was in Japan. It was kind of fun, but boy, it's hard. It's confusing. Like I said, adding like more faces, or like thinking about what exactly this stuff is, you know? Like why there are these different breaks on the mech's chin. It's hard to explain without looking at like a picture of the actual mech, but yeah, I think it applies to hair too. Thinking in terms of more the volume of these parts of hair as like maybe ribbons instead of just random sharp fangs. I don't really think about the volume they take up. I just think about the contour, which leaves things a little boring. I think that's the thing that's giving me trouble with hair, as well as stuff like this, mechanical, you know, buildings and stuff. So yeah, that was my week of drawing / practice. Yeah. This is what I'm going to keep doing for the rest of the 1 year of drawing that I'm doing. I'm going to spend, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 days drawing. It'll probably mostly be fan art, eh? Something like this. And then I'll pick 1 or 2 things that I struggled with. with the piece that I did, and then I'll spend a few days practicing something that I hope will help me with that. This was also just kind of dipping my foot in the water, because I never really think about perspective and eye level and stuff like that when I'm drawing, when I'm doing stuff like this. So I kind of wanted to test how much I understood it as well. So yeah, that's that. I feel like I'm rambling, so whatever. I'll leave it there, hey? So thanks for watching, everybody. And I'll be back next week with another week in review, hey? Yippee! Cut.